Okay, so we are live. I'm going to project some slides so that the audience will see it when they enter the room, and I will let the audience come in 3 minutes time. And then at 2:30 sharp, I will project the jingle video, and then I will do the opening as we agreed. Anyone else would like to share anything, or are we all good? Okay, so I will project the slides now. All right, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending from where you are connected. Thank you very much for being with us today and to participate to this Skillman webinar today. Let me just share my screen for all of you. In the meantime, I see that more people are connecting to the room, so in the waiting for them to join us, let me remind all of you that all the participants are muted and their cameras are off. I suggest that we keep it this way until we get to the Q&A sessions that we will be doing later on. First of all, let me just give a huge thanks to the European Training Foundation. We have organized together today's webinar with them, so thank you very much for your contribution. Also, a big thanks to all the speakers that will be sharing their knowledge, their work and experience with us in just a while. Okay, so my name is Valentina De Vico. I am the communication manager of Skillman. I'll be with you throughout the whole webinar. And I'm here to, let's say, to introduce today's lineup of speakers. Today's event is going to be a 2 hours event, so we'll be staying together until 4:30, so 2 hours. The webinar today will be divided into two segments, into two parts. The first part, we will have Stéphane Thomas, the specialist of TVET systems of the European Training Foundation, who will introduce work-based learning and the concept related to a gender perspective. After him, we'll be hearing from Fabiana Scarano, a Policy and Public Outreach Department, still from the European Training Foundation. She will be presented her work of research that she's been doing in work-based learning and women. And then we'll be having two first case studies. The first from Albania with Boraba Marjami, the line manager in work-based learning in Skills for Jobs. And the second case study will be shared and presented by Evaristo Vaia, Senior Partnership Officer at the ADPP from Angola. After this first part, we will have a Q&A session, so we can hear from you and all your questions and comments. So please write them in the chat box throughout the whole webinar whenever you can. We'll be addressing the questions during this first Q&A space. And then after the Q&A space, we will have a second part with Fabio Crosci, Senior Project Manager of CSCS. And also Irina Pushak, Project Manager of CSCS, and they will present us gender self-assessment tools for training that they've been working on and testing during this time. All right, so moving on, I would like to tell all of you that today's event is part of a series of technical webinars that we have been organizing and implementing with the European Training Foundation. Out of this partnership that we have with them. And as co-organizers of the event, Skillman is regularly implementing these kinds of webinars and events as part of an international network of TVET experts, industry leaders, universities, vet institutions, and so on. And we are an international network that was founded in 2014 with the aim of exchanging skills. So skills exchange and introduction is the main aim of the network. Right now, we have achieved many milestones that you can see in this quick slide. We have more than 600 members in 93 countries, so we are an international network, and we do a lot of initiatives. So if you want to follow our upcoming events and our upcoming activities, please stay with us and visit our webpage. I'll be moving on this slide. Because my main contribution today is to forward you an official invitation to our biggest annual event, the Skillman International Forum. This event is being organized every year. This year will be a hybrid event, so online and on-site. And it will happen from the 15th to the 18th of November this year. And of course, the European Training Foundation will contribute to the event as well with webinars and other activities. And this year has three main topics: digital and green revolution, micro-credential, and sharing is caring. So the topics of today will be also addressed during the conference. Usually it's a large-scale conference. Last year we hosted more than 500 stakeholders from all over the world, and of course will be live streamed all around the world to facilitate the participation from all our members and stakeholders. Another invitation for all of you is to join our peer learning clubs, our focus groups of experts that regularly meet up and discuss different topics around TVET. Work-based learning is one of the topics that is being addressed in these groups. So if you want, my colleague is sharing with you the link to join our peer learning clubs. Having said this, I inform all of you that we are live streaming, so the event can be watched online on our Skillman.eu/live website. So if you have technical difficulties or if you want to watch it there, you can. And last but not least, we usually ask for your evaluation of the quality of the webinar. So again, this time I'm going to share a link with you on the chat box. For all of you to just take a minute of your time and tell us what you think of this webinar. I'm not going to indulge any further. I'm going to just give the floor already to our first speaker, Stefan Thomas, a specialist in TVET systems from the European Training Foundation. And he will introduce the topic, and he will talk about work-based learning and women. Thank you, Stefan. The floor is all yours if you want.
Thank you, Valentina. Can you hear me all well?
Yes.
Thank you. So, very warm welcome also from my side. I would like to welcome you all to this afternoon's webinar, which is actually part of a series of webinars on work-based learning that we do together with Skillman. Valentina already mentioned that. That is a very, let's say, fruitful and now already long-lasting tradition. My name is Stefan Thomas, and since 2015, I work as a specialist for work-based learning in the ETF. For those of you who do not know what is the ETF, we are an agency of the European Union working in the areas of vocational education and training, labor market policies, or to put it maybe a little bit more generally, on human capital development. This afternoon, we will discuss and learn about women and work-based learning, apprenticeship, internships, however we call it. We all know that work-based learning is essential, not only for students in vocational education and training, but also in higher education. The benefits for work-based learning for learners, for employers, for companies, for the society as such, as a whole, are well established for many years now. Work-based learning provides learners with the opportunity to develop specific skills and knowledge in the workplace, and also to learn more generic employability skills. like a young woman that works in a restaurant or hotel or in an IT company. She will grow, she will be able to grow more when she has the opportunity to get to know colleagues, to get to know clients, to get into real work processes. That is a major difference between learning in a school and learning at the workplace. Work-based learning also offers opportunities not only for professional, but also for personal development, not least for less advantaged groups. And in many countries, still young women, but also female adults are still disadvantaged. We can see that clearly. Work-based learning can also facilitate the establishment of occupational or industry networks. An apprentice, an intern, a stagiaire that has the opportunity to talk to colleagues, to clients, will be able to connect with other companies, with colleagues, with other apprentices, and build step by step a network. Vocational education and training programs that combine work-based learning and learning in the classroom, we know that from research, can lead to improved employability, faster school to work transition, and also better access to jobs. So this is my thought about it. During their education and training programs, young people really, but this is of course also true for adults, really need to be given the opportunity to make real work experiences, not only in traditional craft trades like builders, carpenters, but also in commercial and technical professions, for instance, IT technicians, nurses, and so on. This is more and more the case for young boys and also male adults, but it seems to be less the case still for young women. As Valentina mentioned already, my colleague Fabiana Scarano will tell us a little bit more about what we know and also perhaps what we don't know. And then we will have the chance to learn more about what can be done from the two country cases. So I'm very happy that we have with us from Albania, Borana Bayami, and from Angola, Evaristo Waya from ADPP Center in Angola. And he will definitely tell us what ADPP stands for, because it's still a mystery for me. Then finally, we will have Irina Pušak and Fabio Croci, that was also already announced, who will present a tool that allows institutions to self-assess strengths and weaknesses in relation to gender equality. So, and I'm very much looking forward to learn more about this tool. I hope you will enjoy this webinar that we do together with Skillman. All the discussions, please take advantage to ask questions to our experts. And I hand over to Valentina and Fabiana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stefan. As you already announced, now Fabiana Scarano will tell us more about her research work on work-based learning and women. So Fabiana, if you want, and if you want to share your screen, you're welcome to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Valentina. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I hope you can hear me well.
Very well.
Great. So as Valentina introduced me, my name is Fabiana Scarano, and I'm a trainee at the Policy and Public Outreach Department of the ETF. And today I'm going to give you an introduction on the topic of this webinar, so women in work-based learning, and presenting you the main findings of the research we carry out that we are also going to share with you after this webinar. In which we try to understand which are the main factors that negatively affect women access and retention in work-based learning, especially in male-dominated sectors, and what are the more effective and meaningful solutions that can be promoted to overcome this barrier and try to guarantee and increase participation of women in work-based learning. Before starting, I would like to ask you two quick questions just to break the ice and know something more about you. So I'm going to launch a quick poll, and you will see that first question is about your background, because we would like to know where do you work, so we understand which kind of audience is taking part in this webinar today.
Fabiana, I think you can launch it if you want. Huh?
Okay. Perfect. Yes. So I hope you can see the question. We give you some times to reply. So you see that you have the different options, either if you are a vet provider, you work in a company, government, or if you are part of an NGO, social partner. You can even type other in case you feel like you don't fit in any of the options offered. I see that some replies are coming. I leave you some times more. Okay. Okay, I see just a few seconds. Okay, so we see that we have half of participants. No, we have, sorry, the major share is from NGO. We have 50% of people coming from NGO. Then we have vet providers, so probably expert from universities, schools, and centers, and also someone from companies, no one from the government or social partners. Okay, so I have now another questions for you, because before examining the topic more in depth, I would like to know from you if you think that in your country women are encouraged enough to take part in work-based learning. I cannot see the second question, Valentina. I don't know if there is a problem with the poll.
From the top part, there's an arrow. You just click on it and you go to the second one.
No, I don't know why I don't have it. I only can see the first question, but
no problem. Then we move on from.
We move on. We will maybe ask you later on. So now I'm going to share my presentation with you. Okay, I hope you can see it.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
Sorry, Fabiana. Try to put it on the presentation mode.
Yes, it is. It's a bit slow. So before starting, I would like to give you a brief introduction about what is work-based learning and which are its main forms. So in many countries, work-based learning represents a key component of vocational education programs. It exposes learners to the real world of work by engaging them in workplace activities, and provide learners with thus in-demand technical skills that can facilitate a smooth transition from school to work. If we look at an internal definition given by ETF, we can define work-based learning as learning that occurs when people do real work in a real work environment. This work can be paid or unpaid, and it leads to the production of real goods and services. And the work may or may not be combined, but usually it is, with school-based learning, taking place either in a classroom or in a workshop. Of course, there are many types of work-based learning programs, but the two main forms, the one you usually heard about the most, are apprenticeships and trainerships and internships. So apprenticeships represent a major form of work-based learning. Normally, they combine workplace training with school-based training, and workplace training makes up the major share of the training process. These programs usually last several years. For example, if you look at some of our partner countries, generally they last from 3 to 4 years. And the apprentice usually is considered an employee, therefore she receives a salary and does a work contract. And at the end of the program, she also received the recognized qualification. In contrast with apprenticeships, we have trainerships and internships that instead are shorter workplace training periods that complement formal or non-formal education and training programs. They are less structured than apprenticeships and usually last from a few days or weeks to months. And they may or may not include a work contract and the payment for the apprentice. Very often the boundaries between these two types of work-based learning programs are blurred because they may present similar characteristics. However, variations exist depending on the context in which they are implemented. Because, for example, apprenticeships may vary in their length, in the salary, or in the types of occupations covered. And this is also why a single and standardized definition of these two types of work-based learning programs doesn't exist, and different countries tend to use different terminologies. In any case, work-based learning, and in particular apprenticeships, on which we will focus our attention in this webinar, represent an effective means to drive the skilling of the workforce and also to reduce the risk of unemployment. This is why it is extremely important that the promotion of work-based learning is done by applying a gender lens, a gender perspective, so that both women and men can have access can have equal opportunities to access work-based learning and take advantage of its benefits. However, as we are going to see in this webinar, much still needs to be done to achieve gender equality. In this regard, we can have a look at some data to start mapping the landscape of women participation in work-based learning. In particular, we are considering apprenticeships. Unfortunately, collecting data on women participation in work-based learning is quite an exercise. And this because many countries, especially if you look at ETF partner countries, lack a proper system of data collection, particularly with regard to sex disaggregated data. However, we were able to collect some figures for some of our partner countries and also for European countries, as you can see here. For European countries, this was possible thanks to the EU Labour Force Survey of 2016, which showed how many graduates experience work-based learning as part of their highest education attained, particularly in VET and tertiary education. From the first graph, we can see that among graduates with medium-level vocational education, the majority of those who had a work-based learning experience are male. Among those who went through an apprenticeships, the share of male is estimated at 59% compared to 41% of women, while among those who had a traineeship, the share of male is at around 55%, while the share for female, 45%. This gender gap is less pronounced if we look at tertiary education, because we can see that among those who went through an apprenticeship, the share of male in this case is 51% compared to 49% for female, while for traineeship we have actually a higher share of female, 61%, versus a share of male that is estimated at around 39%. For ETF partner countries, we have some data, as you can see here, for Morocco and Tunisia, which are two countries where there is a quite good participation of women in apprenticeships, because according to the latest data, we can see that for Morocco, we have 46% of apprentices that were women in 2015 and 16, while for Tunisia, 38% of apprentices were female in 2018. We have also Egypt, where different apprenticeship schemes are offered, and we can see that here there is a considerably lower participation of women. We see 10% in industrial apprenticeships, only 6% in integrated schemes, and a greater number, 30%, in short-term apprenticeships. Last, we have also some figures for Kazakhstan, in which we can see that we have, again, almost 39% of students that were female in dual education in 2019. So what we can say by looking at this data is that there is no hard evidence available that there is a serious gap between female and male participation in work-based learning, but what emerged from our research is that in every geographical context, there are specific factors that make it more difficult for women to have access to apprenticeships, and also that women continue to be mainly enrolled in specific sectors. There are those that are considered traditionally more female, so that's related to food, beauty, and social care services, and the so-called HID occupations, meaning health, early education, and domestic roles, while they are heavily underrepresented in STEM-related apprenticeships, so that's in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics sector. And this actually reflects and continues to feed in a vicious circle what is called the horizontal and occupational segregation of women in the labor market, meaning that women are overrepresented in that sector that usually offer lower payoff rates, that have a lower status, and also that offer weak opportunities for career progression. And this, of course, contributes significantly to the gender pay gap. Moreover, we have to consider that women also have to deal with the so-called vertical segregations, meaning that other than being concentrated in specific sectors, within these sectors, they are also underrepresented in senior and management position. So, for instance, if we take the example of a school, in this case, the majority of the school heads will be men and the majority of teachers, women. So having said that, we try to understand which are these barriers that make it more difficult for women to access apprenticeships. We found out that there are specific factors that you can see here, and now we are going to examine in a bit more detail, and that these factors affect women in every geographical area, so from the most developed to developing countries. So the first element to consider are stereotypes, gender roles, and laws. This because stereotypes and traditional gender roles heavily affect society all around the world, and they negatively affect women training and occupational choices. And this because, according to the stereotypes and these gender roles, women are considered to be suitable only for specific occupations, while they are not considered to be strong and skilled enough to have access to other sectors, especially the manufacturing, the ICT, construction, and engineering sectors that often are male-dominated and are also more productive and better paid. And this, of course, may lead women to lose confidence in themselves and see their job possibilities very limited. Moreover, in some countries, there are also some national laws. For example, if we think of our partner countries, these happen in Kazakhstan, in Egypt, or also Moldova and Belarus. There are specific national laws that legally prohibit women to have access to some occupations. And this because there are some jobs that are considered to be too dangerous and physically demanding to be performed by female workers. A second element is related to gender biased career guidance services, because unfortunately in many countries career guidance is not well developed. So young people tend to make their training and educational choices based on a very limited information they have about their apprenticeships options, and most of the time are gender biased. Moreover, stereotype perception of occupations may also be reinforced over time by teachers, trainers, and above all by parents that represent a key influence on young people's career choices, but that most of the time are not well prepared to give advice to their children about their career options and possibilities. And the absence of a gender-sensitive and aware career guidance is actually one of the reasons why many girls and women found themselves making choices that do not reflect their true ambitions and aspirations. Then another problem is related to the work environment and commuting distances. This because the presence of an intimidating working environment and the fear of gender-based violence can act as a great constraints for women to apply to an apprenticeship. This is especially true when women decide to apply to apprenticeships in male-dominated sectors, because in this case they may be afraid of facing violence in the form of bullying or physical and psychological aggression or sexual harassment, both in the workplace and in the school environment by their teacher, the trainers, the employers, and even their male fellow apprentices. This is even more true when there is a lack of gender-sensitive infrastructures and facilities that can protect women from abuse. Moreover, there is the issue of transportation, because long distances between the women's home and the place of training can expose them to a greater risk of facing abuse. And this is especially true for developing countries in which, unfortunately, particularly if you look at rural areas, safe transportation is not always guaranteed. Another major barrier is represented by the work-life balance problem. This is because, unfortunately, in our society, women are still considered to be the main responsible for the majority of the domestic and care work, while men are thus perceived to be the financial providers of the family. And this, of course, poses a great burden on women that have less possibilities to compared to women to apply to a work-based learning program. This is especially true when there is a lack of social protection measures, for example, maternity and paternity leave, or social care service, childcare services that can protect can support women, and also because of a lack of flexibility of the apprenticeships program. What happened is that being unable to find a balance between their career aspiration and their household responsibilities, many women found themselves forced to refrain from applying to an apprenticeship or even to quit the program early. But actually, quitting a program early can have negative long-lasting consequences because this can seriously undermine the long-term financial well-being. Other two main problems are the range of apprenticeships occupations, because in many countries we found out that the range of occupation where apprenticeships are available is often limited and mainly concentrated around traditional trades that usually are male dominated, therefore discouraging women from applying. Moreover, research shows that women are more likely to drop out from these programs because they may face or anticipate discrimination or suffer from hostile environment. There is a recent UNESCO UNEVOC report of 2020 that shows that women are more likely to drop out from STEM-related apprenticeships, and that very often they don't end up working in the relevant occupation after graduating in this field. Last but not least, there is the problem of financial cost, because in some cases, women may be unable to pay the fee requested to take part in an apprenticeship or to face expensive incurred to travel to the place of training. So these are the main barriers that affect women, as we say, in every geographical context. Then we try to find out which are the best solution that can be promoted to overcome this barrier, and that have proved to be successful in supporting women. And actually, when implemented, this measure can really bring positive results, as we are also going to see later on with the presentation of the two case studies of Angola and Albania. So a first solution is to ensure lifelong gender-sensitive career guidance. We saw that the career guidance services can really help young people to reflect on their skills, on their opportunities, and on their aspirations. And gender-sensitive career guidance can even empower them to break out of oppressive stereotypes based on gender that can limit their choices. When applying this measure, in order to make it really effective, it is important to take into account three major elements. That gender-sensitive career guidance should start early, because stereotypes are interiorized at a very early stage in life. Research shows that the concept of gender takes root in children between the age of 3 and 7, and that by the age of 7 and 8, young girls have already been negatively affected by gendered interactions. Second, it should be guaranteed an adequate number of female career guidance coaches, so that young girls and women may feel confident and safe in asking advice to them. And also that gender-sensitive career guidance should target parents of the learners, because we saw that most of the time they have outdated and gender-biased understanding of apprenticeships programs. Together with gender-sensitive career guidance, it's also important to ensure gender-sensitive teaching method and learning content among the teaching staff, and also guarantee a balanced composition of the teaching staff by gender to represent different roles of femininity and masculinity. A second important solution is to promote the use of female role models. Indeed, we found out that in many countries, other than a lack of gender-sensitive career guidance, there is a lack of female role models to whom girls can aspire. But it has been proved that having the possibility to listen to stories of successful women or to interact with them can really have a great impact on female apprentices. This measure can be, for example, implemented by inviting females that have succeeded in different occupations in class during the school-based component of the training, or also publicizing positive images of female apprentices. This measure is also actually effective in tackling the lack of support of parents towards women participation in apprenticeships, because having the possibility to listen to the stories of successful female apprentices, or having the possibility to visit companies that offer apprenticeships to women, can help parents to change their perspective of work-based learning and become aware of the benefits that women access to work-based learning can bring. Third, it is extremely important that school promote partnership with inclusive companies. So with companies that value and promote gender diversity in their program, and that, for instance, don't use discriminatory recruitment processes. Moreover, the school staff should work with employers to raise awareness among women, girls, their families, and the community as a whole on the importance of guarantee women access to the world of work by, for example, organizing information days or promotional events in school, or offering the possibility to visit companies offering apprenticeships. Another measure that has proved to be particularly successful is to offer flexible apprenticeships programs. We saw that family responsibility represents a great burden for women, and this is especially true in present days, because we saw that the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic have had their worst consequences on impact on the female population. Many women have found themselves forced to take time off from work, or even to quit their jobs. Therefore, offering the possibility to have flexible working hours, or the possibility to telework during the workplace training component of an apprenticeship can be a valuable solution to tackle this kind of problem. This measure can be also integrated by introducing female-friendly policies related to the workplace, guaranteed, for example, access to affordable childcare services, or introducing parental and family leaves to care for members of the families or children when needed. Another solution is, for example, to set targets and provide financial incentives to female apprentices or employers that are committed to recruit more female among their apprentices, for example, in the form of tax exemption or cash grants. And other two solutions are offering female pre- and post-apprenticeship programs. And this because many apprenticeships may have some eligibility criteria for admission that may limit the access of disadvantaged youth, including women. It has been proved that offering pre-apprenticeships programs exclusively to women can support them in develop basic and academic skills that can help them to become competitive candidates for these programs. These can be also followed up by tutoring programs to kick off the career of female in a specific sector or occupation, specifically, especially in those in which they are heavily underrepresented. A last very important measure is concerned the improvement of the monitoring and evaluation system of apprenticeships. We saw that many countries still lack proper system of monitoring data collection, while it is extremely important that schools and organizations offering apprenticeships commit themselves to collect, monitor, and publish the number of their apprentices with all the relevant data disaggregated by sex, and that they constantly evaluate their learning programs offer. And this because only if we have sex disaggregated data, we can understand which are the issues that impact disproportionately women, and therefore design gender responsive measures and policies that can be effective and impactful. So from my side, that's all. But before leaving you, I would like to, why I can't, okay. I would like to ask you just a quick question. So I would like to ask you, which of the ones that I mentioned during the presentation, according to you, are the three main barriers hindering women participation in work-based learning in your countries? Okay, I leave you some time to reply. Okay, still some seconds because I see you are replying. Okay, just a few seconds more. Okay, let's see the results. Okay, so it seems that stereotypes and traditional gender roles are the major barrier, and these actually affect society, as we say, all around the world. So yes, it is one of the main factors that negatively affect women. Then we have the problem of work-life balance that in any case is still related to the problem of traditional gender roles. Also, some of you mentioned the gender bias career guidance services that should be really developed more to help people to reflect on their opportunities. And then we have also limited choice of apprenticeships occupations, lack of gender sensitive work environment. The last is the financial cost. Okay, so from my side, that's all. Maybe we can also discuss a bit more about it in later on in the Q&A session if you want. Or if you want to bring your experience, I think it will be interesting for all of us. Now I interrupt the video. Okay. Okay, so thank you. I let the floor to Valentina.
Fabiana, thank you for this extensive analysis and the huge work you have done, and very interesting facts from my point of view, at least. So thank you very much for your contribution. As we mentioned already, I would like to move on to the two case studies that basically are using some of these tools that you have already introduced. And the case study from Borana Bariami, again, we already announced her, line manager, work-based learning with Skills for Jobs. She will tell us her experience on the case study from Albania and how women are accessing work-based learning from her side. So if you want, Borana, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Valentina. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity of sharing the Albania case on work-based learning and engagement of girls in work-based learning. If you can share the video, Valentina, it will be
nice. Of course, I will do it.
Thank you.
So let's watch this video from Borana. Just a second, I will project it.
Më pëlqej shumë ambientet e shkollës, laboratorët ku kemi mundësi të praktikojmë ato që mësojmë në klasë, ndihem shumë mirë me mësuesit dhe njerëzit që më rrethojnë. Një tjetër pasionimi, përveç informatikës, është edhe graphic designi. Këtë pasion që unë kam, jam duke zhvilluar edhe te praktika tek biznesi në Timak, te Timaku. Tashmë kam 3 muaj që po e zhvilloj praktikën atje, edhe pronarja e kompanisë më ka thënë që pasi të mbaroj shkollën, tani që e mbyll, mund të filloj edhe punën atje. Shkolla profesionale më dha pasionin, ëndrrën dhe mundësinë për ta realizuar atë.
Thank you, Valentina. I think that there were some disconnections, but for the major part it works. Okay, let me share the screen. Okay.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, Skills for Jobs is a skills development project aiming in skills development of young girls and boys enrolled in that and studying in that through major initiatives and activities, but mostly, of course, through engaging in work-based learning. The situation in Albania before Skills for Jobs and by 2016, in regard to girls, we faced low enrollments of girls in VET in all profiles and professions. Typically in technical directions, there were less girls included in, of course, in technical directions, but mostly in work-based learning. Few companies were offering work-based learning and had gender barriers, hosting mostly boys, and very few companies offering work apprenticeships were engaged in hosting girls only for some specific gender-oriented tasks like cleaning, organizing, coordinating, and the girls were placed in back office and not in front office. We had some community prejudice from parents and families from rural areas that were afraid to send girls in vet schools due to low perception of image, of quality of the institutions, and female-friendly amenities. Due to this prejudice, parents were concerned, of course, on transportation issues because they were families and parents from rural areas, and there were some accessibility and distance issues. These challenges and barriers were mostly centered in changing mindset of girls towards that. Why do girls not enrolled, or why are not choosing that? Girl representations was very low. Changing parents' mentality towards that was another issue, and of course we were aiming for more girls in technical and different profiles and professions. Work-based learning quality, of course, there were some challenges in placements of girls in adequate functions and posts, and raising self-awareness through work-based learning was a barrier for many girls. Here we have a picture of a girl studying electronics. Transforming challenges into opportunities, we had a motto here in Skills for Jobs. Gender equality is not an ideological problem, but mostly an economical problem. So we have done some activities and interventions for recruitment and promotions of girls, for career orientation, counseling and education, for case management in work-based learning through analyzing different aspects in placements and rotation of posts in apprenticeships and work-based learning in general, through institutional responsibility and infrastructure improvement. Some intervention and activities related to girls' enrollment and girls' engagement in different aspects were girls' representation in lucrative professions, and we have organized a big campaign, Meet Every Girl campaign, to increase enrollment in vet schools and institutions. We organize some activities in schools involving girls from primary schools and exposing them to competitions between in some areas like coding projects, practical training, ICT bootcamp for girls, supported by many companies and hosting companies for apprenticeships and work-based learning. More girls are enrolled in ICT. Competition led by partner companies like Code like a Girl by Vodafone, Hackathon, Digital Girl of the Year, etc., were some competition that attract more girls, and they have more awareness on their skills and development in the future. Selective collaboration with Women in Business Association and organizing storytelling by business women as a role model, Fabiana mentioned it, and career orientation and entrepreneurship were some of the activities that were implemented by the project to give some very good models of working and selecting appropriate career. Quality of work-based learning, more companies are on board for qualitative apprenticeships, ensuring rotation of girls in different posts as per their practical plan. Improve case management. This is awareness campaign about gender bias in tasks assignment in work-based learning. As before mentioned, as a challenge that most companies were not very happy to host girls in similar posts for boys and girls. They have prejudice on genders. Female-friendly mentees in industrial school, for example, we have invested in infrastructure also. Some challenges that we faced during 2016 and 2019 were addressed in school mindset changing, in orienting girls towards well-paid programs and professions in career orientation, changing schools' mindsets in orienting girls towards well-paid programs in institutional marketing through promoting promoting girls that were successful in work-based learning and specific professions. Capacity building of gender coordinator in the schools with clear instruction, institutional objective in ensuring gender inclusion, like annual gender events, and inclusion of girls in marketing groups, visiting the 9th grade classes with the aim of endorsing girls in targeted professions and promoting them during their journey in the school and work-based learning. These were mostly what Skills for Jobs as a skills development project addressed during the first phase of the project, but we will continue through addressing the challenges that Fabiana and of course all the countries I think have in common in breaking this prejudice, gender bias and community prejudice. The video we saw at the beginning, so that was all from our side.
Thank you, Borana. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
for illustrating to us your experience and your case study from Albania. We have received some questions for you privately, so later I can't wait to have the discussion space to address those questions to you and to Fabiana as well. Now it's time to hear our second case study, this time from Angola. So a different experience, and let's see how women access work-based learning processes in Angola with Evaristo Waya, the Senior Partnership Officer from ADPP from Angola. We'll be watching a video from him as well to see the experience in Angola. So first of all, Evaristo, if you want to take the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Valentina. Good afternoon to all participants. And thank you for inviting us to take part in this webinar, where we have a chance to present our experience on women in action in Angola, based on the vocational training and the entrepreneurship. So as I said, the initiative is implemented by ADPP, Angola. ADPP stands for Ajuda de Desenvolvimento de Povo para Povo, or Development Aid from People to People, which is started 35 years ago with the focus on development sector, education, health, agriculture, and integrated projects, to say that education is the biggest intervention for ADPP Angola, with the teacher trainings and also with the providing education for young people. ADPP also is a member of Humana People to People Federation. Before going further to the context of the Women in Action projects, I would like to share with you some barriers to the women economic empowerment in Angola that are related to the projects. As you can see from this fact, we can see that education is one of the biggest barriers. We see that the average years of schooling is 4.9 for women and 7.2 for the male. So here we see the significant discrepancy from the women compared with the men. And also we see that the literacy rates is also affecting more the women, or where we have 53% for the women and also 8% for the men. And the fertility rate is very high. It's the second highest in Africa. And it also means that our approach with the reproductive health as a transversal approach in the program is very important. And also at the same time, also we see a very young population. We can see that 66% of the population are 25 or under. And then, as I'm saying, the education is one of the biggest challenge. We see that also poor availability of technical and vocational training at lower level. And also this is becoming more complicated because of the economic crisis that Angola is facing since 2014, with the limited resource for the government to provide training and service and education. And there's globally also COVID-19 pandemic is also challenging on the institutional and individual level. So based on this context, the basis of the project is to empower the women with the practical skills and support them to start their own enterprise at the same time as they can take care of their family responsibilities and also promote economic and social inclusion. So as we are saying, the focus of the project is to empower the women socially and also economically, and also that they can continue their normal activities. So about the ADPP Women in Action project. The aim is to enable women to establish and grow their own small business in their tailoring sector. So for this part of the program, they have the women, when they are in the program, they have 6 months sewing course where they learn to sew new or add value to use the clothing. And also they have 6 months for entrepreneurship training where they are helped to create and follow full business plan, marketing assistance, and also joint sales event. Here we can say also that one of the biggest example, the example for joining sales event is that when there is a fairs, for example, that organized by the company or by the governments, the women are invited to promote their products and also to have connection to the markets. And one of the important periods, which also takes 6 months, is the incubation periods, where the individual support, where the women get the individual support to start and grow micro enterprise, access to sewing machine, and also to start their own production. And we can see that the project is in 5 provinces in Angola, which is in Cabinda from 2016, and then in Bengu from the period of 2016-2018, and also there is 3 locations in Luanda province with the participation of 1,399 participants. And then we are also in the province of Huila and Namibia. In terms of the project also on the recruitment, the most important requirement is that should be the women above 18 years old who demonstrate entrepreneurial spirit and also who have social and economic vulnerability. And then the course is also designed so that it can fit to the profile of the women, to follow them in addition to childcare, informal work, and according to the impact of the program along these years, this period, we can see that there are many more women who are looking for this kind of program. For example, recently we had 235 applicants for 50 places. And also one of the things I want to highlight is the local partnerships, where we get donation of material, contracts to the producer, for example, for the face mask. Here I want to highlight that when Angola when Angola started the period of COVID-19, the women who are part of the program, they're the ones started to make the face mask as a contribution to the protection of the COVID-19, but at the same time as a way of earning money for their economy. So, and also we have we want to highlight the connection that with bank, because also the banks also they make programs with the programs. For example, with financial literacy, where also the participants they learn more about the economy and also about the financial literacy. And also we want to highlight the institutional partnership with the Ministry of Social Action, Family and Women, where the ministry is training the women on family competence. It means that you also, beside of the normal course on tailoring, also they get some transversal approach, like this family competencies is a holistic package with the water and sanitation, nutrition, vaccination, and all those issues that the women, they should know how to deal with. And then in terms of results, we can see that for this program, we have so far reached 1,099 for women are trained in 4 provinces, mixed with the urban and peri-urban area. And then we have 1,060 women who have successfully established a business. So the most important output of the program is that after the training, the women, they can establish their business and they improve their own income. And also we can see that 613 have purchased their own sewing machine. So during the program, the participants, they get access to the machine in the center, and also at the same time they have to make it to have production, to have saving for their machine. Here we can see that 600 they have got their machines. So in terms of the impact, looking at the external evaluation from 2019, which was made in one of the site implementation area, concluded that the women have been empowered and now have a significantly better life for themselves and for their children, and both economic and social in terms as reflected in the following impact. So here we can see some of the indicator from this external evaluation, where I would like to highlight the number of women successfully completing the course, which was 297. And then I want to highlight that also 86% of the participants, because of the effort from the project, also they succeed to get their ID cards. And with this, they can get access to other services. And also 70% have bank accounts in their own name and are using them. So these are the good indicator for them to have access to other market opportunities. And also want to highlight that 94% have a stable income from their enterprise for at least 12 months after completing the projects. So it means that this figure shows that with the projects, the women, they can start to improve their income. They increase their income, and also they improve their household expenditure. And also one of the important things is that they learn along the program how to work together. As we can see also, here we can see that more people, they are willing to teach other women, or to have solidarity to give, to train other people, and also how to work together. And about the future, our perspective is to replicate the model for other vocational training, and also to increase the private sector linkage, where this program is having a good linkage with the private sector, and then we want to find new public and the private sector as a part of the program. So I will let Valentina to bring the video so you can hear some voice from the ground, from the women themselves.
Thank you, Evaristo. Thank you. I'm going to share the screen with the video. Just hold on a second.
Okay.
Olá, chamo-me Lorina Matanto, formanda já graduada do 4º grupo do projeto Mulheres em Ação Benguela. O meu plano de negócio é de criar um ateliê organizado e também colocar em prática tudo o que eu aprendi na formação, e também para o sustento da minha família. O dinheiro que eu irei ganhar, uma parte vai para casa e a outra parte eu farei poupança para poder comprar uma outra máquina e também entregar outras mulheres que precisam de ajuda. A parte da formação que foi mais útil para mim no curso de empreendedorismo foi quando aprendemos a fazer o plano de produção, controle de venda e o plano de negócio. Em corte e costura, o que eu mais gostei foi quando eu aprendi a dominar a máquina, aprendi também os diferentes cortes e moldes. Enfim, quero agradecer ao Symphony, ao projeto Mulheres em Ação e também à DPP. Obrigada.
Well, that was great. Thank you very much, Evaristo, for your case study, for illustrating this to us. I wish I had participated to that sewing course myself. It sounded very interesting. And well, now moving on, we have our first Q&A space, as already announced. I will bring in Fabiana for some assistance on this part. I know that you have received some questions already, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's start with the questions, and I remind all of you that if you want to speak in person and like address your questions in person, you can also click the button in the bottom bar of your screen, reactions, and then raise your hand. And if I see raised hands, I will just turn on your microphones and you can address the questions yourself. Thank you. Go on, Fabiana, all yours.
See, so I have a question for Evaristo about the Angola project. So Evaristo, we ask you, what is the level of education of women and their profile? I mean, of women that are taking part in the program. What's their level of education, more or less? They are asking. Evaristo, you can.
I can answer now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Fabiana. First of all, as I was highlighted in my presentation, one of the biggest challenges in Angola for the women is the education. So when we are for the profile, the basic requirement is that should have 80 grades of education. And then she has to have ability on writing and also speaking in Portuguese or communication skills.
Okay.
Yeah, but of course, as the education is not always possible to go for this, what we do is that we have also some special program for the women who are very behind in terms of education. And also the follow-up that we do in incubation periods also make it is a more concrete approach to the individual women.
Indeed, actually, we have also a question about this. I mean, they ask, how do you follow up women after the completion of the program?
During the program, when they at the center, also they organize in small groups. For example, 3 to 5 members are part of one group. And then when they go for the incubation periods, also they have the trainer who is following them at home to help them to start the process of establishing their own business. So it's during this period where they get more precise follow-up individual.
Okay, thanks, Evaristo. We have another question that is general, so I don't know if you, Evaristo, or Borana would like to reply. The question is, how can we guarantee effective gender inclusion if the evaluation and the monitoring of the process are in the hands of men who are either consciously or unconsciously biased by their privilege? So you can, I don't know if Borana or you would like to tell us something more about the monitoring process, or maybe Borana, for if you can tell us something about the monitoring of your program.
Yes, it's not our case actually, because mentors in companies that are evaluating and monitoring are both female and male.
Okay, so to guarantee an equal participation of women and men, so that we can have the representation of an equal representation of men and women. So I don't know if the other participant in the meanwhile.
Fabiana, I just want to add that in our case, the folks and the women, but of course we also, when we are on the follow-up periods, also the family has to be part, because they have to understand the whole idea is to improve the family economy.
Sure, thanks. I don't know if also in the meanwhile others, the participants want to ask some question by raising your hand. Or if we can go on with the other presentation.
Yes, in any case, Fabiana, we have a second Q&A space, so if anyone wants to address any question later, they can do it. I will go on with our next speakers, if you don't mind. So yes, so now it's the second part of the session. As I mentioned already, Senior Project Manager from CSS, and after him we will have Irina Pushak, also from CSCS Project Manager, and they will share with us their self-assessment tools in training for gender equality and gender inclusion. So I would just leave the floor to them, and yes, please tell us more about this.
Thank you very much, Valentina. I will ask my colleague Irina to start to share our presentation. So I will take the floor at first, and then I will leave Irina to go on with the further details. Well, first of all, I enjoyed the presentations from Fabiana, from Borana, from Evaristo. Thank you very much. I can say that those projects share very similar approaches to the ones we are going to present. They are addressing similar issues, of course. Only I'd like to have you to consider that our purpose in the projects I'm going to present to you, which are European Union funded projects, in those projects our purpose is not only to ensure positive actions towards women, but also towards males, because we strongly believe that inequalities cannot be overcome considering that only females are lacking of some things. Of course, a lot of cases they are, but men as well are lacking of transversal competencies or other opportunities. So we have adopted in our project, let's say, a broader reference model. Yeah, this is just a representation of the fact that we are trying to develop self-assessment tools and guidances to organizations to address the issues of their way to communicate and to be aware of the stereotypes they own. So we have developed an approach to help organizations not only to help women, but instead to help themselves to create a non-discriminatory environment, no matter to your gender, okay? So adopting this approach, you will then design and implement positive actions toward women, of course, if the organization has a majority, the representation of males, but also to the opposite example. For example, for those organizations in which there are so-called traditional female activities like early stage teaching in schools or in other institutions or key professions. The projects that Irina is going to present, in fact, are starting from a specific area of the organizations working with youth generally, and then we focused on 3 subtopics. So the organizations, the education organizations like schools and vocational training organizations, the universities, and also the sport sectors where youth are a lot represented. But we think that this approach can help generally the organizations of any kind which are supposed to be teaching organization, to involve youth in learning. So of course, our contribution should be also related to workplace learning. You can go on, Irina, with our presentation. I'm not going to explain this, but just let's say that we are thinking about positive actions, not only in terms of numbers, but also on how, for example, organizations communicate and how they represent themselves. So we have adopted the first assessment tool well, we are still developing. We are going to present it officially in an event in the first days of October on different areas to help organizations to identify their weaknesses in terms of the gender approach, and to better identify the stereotypes they have adopted, even those they are unaware of. So what my colleague Irina is going to better present to you, and I think that in the next slide, Irina, we have a general presentation of this approach, is a self-assessment tool which is personalized to each area. So I was saying schools, universities, and youth organizations, in order to have a set of questions and more indicators personalized to the dimension, to the area, to the countries in which you are based, in order then to have, of course, some kind of scorings, but the most important thing is to have guidance and examples, and also capacity building activities we are going to deliver within some of those organizations. While I'm leaving the floor to Irina to present more detailed aspects, please remember that she's going to present several projects, but we are designing now general website, which is genderbalance.eu, where we are going to give you more and more updates in the following months. So please stay tuned. And there is, I think, a subscription form we have just delivered. But please, Irina, you can take the floor so that you can give more details to our colleagues.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fabio, for such inspiring intervention and the beginning. So I will go further in order to introduce how actually self-assessment tool works. In particular, we have analyzed that it consists of the 4 stages. First of all, it's a stage of the self-assessment. The self-assessment is we use the website in the form of it's self-assessment tool in the form of the questionnaire that is focused on 6 areas of the self-assessment. In particular, it's human resources, leadership, coaching, stereotypes in communication, gender-based violence, and participation. In all of these areas, different types of organizations have a set of the question where they need to answer in different manners. So it could be a closed-ended question or questions with the options. And afterward, the algorithm, the formula that we have elaborated goes to evaluation. After the organization has obtained the self-assessment, it gets the report with the results of the evaluation. It consists of the 4 stages. The pre-assessment level, so the level when the tool analyzed that organization have the minimum requirements in order to go further and enter into the actual evaluation and get the certification. Afterward, we have a three levels, so it's bronze level, silver, and gold, based on the different answer of the organization. So if it has specific written state organizational policy, or it has an informal meetings or more formal actions. Based on all of those components, the algorithm, the formula evaluates it and give the for each specific self-assessment strategic area, give the results on the evaluation. Together with the evaluation, the organization got also the access to the database that is specific also for each specific area. So we gathered more than 200 resources for each type of the organization that consist of best practices, tools, guidance, and other different resources that aim to help organization to improve in each specific level and in each specific area. It's also personalized. So based on your level of the evaluation or your gold or you obtained a gold level or bronze, it gives you the specific number of the documents and the document that are really helpful exactly for your level of gender equality within the organization, and also due to the type of your organization. Afterward, we have the awareness and improvement. So we can understand that some organization not all will receive the bronze level or gold level. So we give them the resources, we give them the time, we give them the actual tools how to act, and then their turn serve. So they read in the resources, they implement them, and they act through the improvement inside the organization. The resources are available in for different projects. They available in at least five EU and non-EU languages. So it's broader the divide, the public that we can reach with our resources. Going a bit detailing to the type of the organization that we are going to focus, we have, as Fabio has anticipated, we have created the GenderBalance.eu platform that covers basically 3 projects. WAST, that is focused on youth organization or youth workers or coaches, mentors who are working with youth. Then it's SWAST, that is focused on the sport organization, and Frisco, that will be released in March 2022. That is focused actually on the educational institutions, the schools, universities, VET providers, and have a specific path how to help them to improve. And also the project consists of different capacity building activities that will be provided once the organization will be registered. So basically, we invite you to go to the Gender Balance, subscribe, and enter to the line of the organization that will be the first one who will test the different type, the tool. You can select by yourself the type of organization. You can select your area where you work, etc. And based on that, you will receive from our part the email with the invitation and later instructions. From my side, that's all. I hope I was quick and I reached in time. So thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Irina. Thank you, Fabio and Irina, for this intervention. Of course, now we have a second space for more questions and more comments later on. If, Irina, we have some spare time, maybe you can show us how to actually do it, like a small simulation of the tool. Let's see if we have enough time to do it. But I see we are a little bit in advance with time, so if we have the chance, I would ask Irina, just get ready just a few minutes, and later we will take the topic. Fabiana, back to you with the Q&A space. Let's see if we have more questions for Fabio and for Irina, or for the previous speakers, or anything we want to add to the table, to the discussion.
So far, I haven't received any questions, so if some of you want to intervene. Otherwise, I have a question for the participants. If some of you want to reply, I wanted to ask you do you have like a tool or a system similar to the one that has been presented by, for example, now by Irina, to monitor gender discrimination against women in the programs you offer as an organization, school, or a company? If you have ever developed something like this, especially if you offer like apprenticeship programs to, I don't know, if someone wanted to intervene, you can even just raise your hands without typing in the chat box.
Fabiana, while the other participants thinking about the questions, if I may, of course, in those projects, we are not starting from the scratch, and we have taken inspirations from other European projects and other approaches. And I recommend all the participants to take a look to the job done by the European Institute for Gender Policies, which are also presenting in a very comprehensive way the gender impact assessment, which is a more comprehensive approach. And I don't know if anybody has adopted it. It is very interesting, even if it is applicable mainly to greater organizations, large industries and public administrations. So if anybody else has examples of let's say, more flexible and smaller tools, it is very interesting for us because in our experience, there is a lack of offers in these tools for smaller organizations, for not structured organizations. Usually you have self-assessment tools in which you have how many, I don't know, board members you have in terms of male and female, how many policies for job employment you have. But a lot of organizations are small organizations, I'm thinking about vet and educations and schools. So it is very interesting if you have any other experience in smaller tests applicable to smaller organizations, because it will source our project as well. And sorry, I take the opportunity to say, I forgot to mention that it is nice if you can attend the assessment, because the more inputs we get in terms of feedbacks, the more best practices and guidance we can deliver to the organization. Sorry, Fabiana, I took this time.
No, it's okay. So if no one wants to reply, maybe Irina can show us how the tool works, in case no one is going to intervene, or if you have any question, you don't have to reply to my question. You can even ask other.
Yes, Rina, I would be very interested to see how that works.
So let's go. Basically, we can generally will have the possibility to select the language, but I will proceed in English.
Is there any way that you can just make it bigger?
That now is better?
Yes, better. Thank you.
So in particular, you need to put like the basic information we need from you. It's the name of the organization, the type. I will show you on taking into consideration example of the WASP self-assessment tool that is created for now for the sport organization, youth organization, or informal groups of young people. And afterward, we will need to also analyze the size of your organization. We'll need to get the organization in numbers. So in particular, number of women and men that are in the leadership position, coaches, mentors, assistants. So I will go like with the random numbers in order to go to the next tab, because for now we have everything in the mandatory. I was not ready to present it, but yeah. And yeah. Just give me a second. Okay. Later on, we switch to the human resources management part, where, as we said before, we have a different type of the questions. Take into consideration the action that the organization implement on the formally basis of the written types of the written documents formally implied in the organization. Also some informal actions or any other formal actions, but not written in the organization policy or the statute. Also, we have a different types of the responses also to adapt it to the organization that do not have these types of the resources. For example, like we have the question regarding the equal pay, the maternity and paternity leave, because we consider that all the questions that take into consideration women and men. Regarding its general, the question are those questions are focused on the human resources management. Then we have Then we have the section regarding the leadership position. So it's aimed to analyze number of women and men in the broad terms, also regarding the equal possibility within the organization to obtain the leadership positions. We ask our organization to select the most the answer that are the most close to their reality. We had the section regarding the coaching and mentorship. For example, what kind of action is taken to improve balanced access for women and men to the coaching, mentoring, and youth animation positions. Regarding the existing policies or recommendations, any strategies or the tools within the organizations. Later on, we had the section regarding stereotypes in communication activities. Here, we aim to evaluate if the organization treat equally women and men to what is considered the communication. So, for example, if in case if it's like any for example, what institution, if they treat and have the equal representation of women and men in their promotion materials. We also have the gender-based violence section. This section actually talks how the organization treat the situation concerning gender-based violence. Do the organization have formally implemented any prevention methods? And how organization, what action organization take in order to support, for example, victims of gender-based violence. That's all those questions are very important in order to be honest in the evaluation process. Also, we had in the section of the participation, it's aimed to evaluate the balanced participation between women and men, and equal opportunities for the participation for women and men. After what we got the results. Okay, my results are too good because we have as you can see, we have the evaluation for each category. So, for example, based on the human resources management category, due to my responses, we get a well done level. So the correspond to the silver one. You also have here the link that will redirect you to the database that's focused only on human resources documents. You can also filter it due to any condition you prefer, title, country, for example, let's see, Portugal or Italy. Later on, you have the scores for different sections. You can see here we have the excellent and evaluation for each strategic area. After what you receive the certificate, as you can see, we got the silver level. That was a summary of all the resources that we got before. We have also the access to the full database with all the resources that the organization can check due to the language. You see the Catalan, for example, English, and also to the strategic areas, and also download the actual certificate. So from my side, that's all. That's end of our self-assessment tool. Do you have any questions?
Only, Irina, just to mention that the assessment tool is still in a design mode, and the results are going to be finalized in order to give better personalizations of the best practices and the database. So this is the part which is missing, of course, in the example you have shared, but in the forthcoming weeks and months, you will have a more comprehensive tool. So feel free to join again in, let's say, in a few weeks, correct, Irina?
Exactly.
Okay. Wow, very interesting. I was actually drawn to the screen to follow the whole process. So very interesting. I will get back to it later. I would say, Fabiana, that we are at the end of this session. Unless there's anyone else who want to add something, ask questions, or anything else, any comments. Otherwise, I would just come to the final conclusions and like the reflections that we can draw from this specific event. let me just thank all the speakers for being here and for taking their time to participate and to share with us your practices. They're very inspiring, at least from my side. I really thank a lot Fabiana for your research and extensive work you've done. Stefan from the European Training Foundation, you guys have worked really hard on the topic. They have given us very interesting insights. Thank you very much. And Fabiana, what do you think about what we just said in this session? Or if Stefan wants to add anything else, I would just leave the space to you to do so.
Yeah, maybe I can say just a few words to sum up what we said and conclude the webinar. So we saw during this webinar what is work-based learning, which are its main forms, and that as work-based learning as part of vocational education programs can be an effective means to provide learners with relevant employability skills and therefore guarantee a smooth transition into the labor market. Apprenticeships in particular are usually associated with very positive early employment outcomes, both in developed and developing countries. And this is also why work-based learning is actually gaining increasing attention around the world. And many countries have also started to reform their VET policies, taking into account its importance. Despite this, we saw that men and women are not equally enjoying the benefits of work-based learning because there are specific factors that make it more difficult for women to have access and remain in these programs. To sum up, we can say that these factors are mainly related to three major problems. We saw a problem of accessibility that can be related to sociocultural factors. So we saw the role of gender stereotypes and gender roles in limiting women's possibility to access apprenticeships, and also the problem of finding a work-life balance, problem of the low attractiveness that apprenticeships have towards women that most of the time do not receive adequate information or proper career guidance services to reflect on their opportunities and aspirations, and also because of the negative perception that parents have towards women participation of to work-based learning. And last major problem is maybe the economic constraints, because especially in developing countries, women may be unable to bear the cost associated to apprenticeships. So this is why it is extremely important today that to overcome this barrier, schools and organizations offering apprenticeships try to be more responsive towards women needs, and that they try to apply a gender lens when they develop and promote their apprenticeships programs. We saw some of the measures that can be promoted to achieve this objective, and that can actually produce very positive results, as it has been demonstrated with the case studies of Angola and Albania. And this considering that for many girls, work-based learning can really represent a crucial starting point on the path to sustain training and employment, and that guarantee a better access of women to work-based learning and consequently to the labor market can bring benefits not only to women themselves, but also on the society as a whole. And this in terms of having lower unemployment rates, higher level of productivity, and also more inclusive and sustainable societies. And also bearing in mind that women represents half of the world population, and if we leave them behind, it won't be possible to achieve sustainable development for all, and also to meet the sustainable development goals of the 2030 UN agenda. So from my side, that's all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Stefan, a few words?
Yeah, thank you very much, Fabiana, Valentina. I don't have much to add. I would like to say thank you to all of the speakers. We heard about two, let's say, different case studies from also very different parts of the world. I think very interesting and inspiring. I also would like to say thank you to Fabiana for presenting some of the data. I think you didn't mention that you also drafted a paper, a short paper, and that paper will be disseminated with an email that Valentina will send to all of you. So thank you very much again also to the two speakers from Albania and Angola, to Borana and Evaristo. and of course also to Irina and Fabio for presenting the tool for self-assessing gender, I would say, sensitivity or gender equality. Last but not least, thank you to Valentina and the team for providing the technical infrastructure and organizing this event. We are closing 15 minutes before the scheduled time, so I think this is also an achievement.
Never happened in the history of webinars. That haven't.
Right. I wish you all a nice afternoon.
Yes, I would just like to remind all of you that all the materials of this webinar, including video and the presentations and the publication that Stefan just mentioned, will be sent to you by email and also published on the webpage that I just wrote in the chat. So if you want to access the material, you're welcome. And in 2 days, we will have a training that I would like to talk about. Is a very interesting training on accessing direct grant funding programs, and it would be done in collaboration with AER, the Assembly of European Regions. I know that it's a very interesting topic for many people. We have more than 100 registrants so far, so I would just like to send the invitation to you as well in case you're interested to participate. That would be all from my side, Stefan. If you want, we can just close the room and wish everybody to have a good day, good night, good evening. Thank you very much for participating. I will leave you with this last remarks for today. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.